settled at 2,390 points after losing 0.15%, while the Nasdaq is down 0.06% at 5,382.50 points. Away from the markets now, Africa's biggest mobile phone operator, MTN Group, has reported a huge $108 million annual loss for the first time in 2 decades. MTN says its headline loss came in at 1.4 billion rand for the full year 2016, compared with headline earnings of 13.6 billion rand in 2015. The telecom operator says in a statement that the regulatory fine imposed on it by the Nigeria Communications Commission and unfavorable currency moves contributed to the loss. MTN agreed to pay a fine of $1.1 billion in June last year after a prolonged legal battle to end a dispute in Nigeria over missing a deadline to cut off unregistered SIM cards. The company said the fine wiped $768 million from headline earnings. An armyworm outbreak, the first emergence of the pest in southern Africa, is causing considerable crop damage in some countries. Officials say if the pest damage aggravates, it could dampen prospects for the good crop harvest that is anticipated in the current farming season.
These are not happy times for Zimbabwean farmers facing a threat from the armyworm, a pest that consumes vast fields of crops if left unchecked. They march across the landscape in large groups, while in the caterpillar stage, feasting on young maize plants and wiping out entire fields. The government has set a target of 2 million tons of maize this year after a devastating drought in 2016. But if the pest damage continues, it could dampen prospects for good crop harvest that is anticipated in the current farming season. Luxon Zembe is a farm owner in East Anglia, 25 kilometers outside from Harare.
It is a challenge. Firstly, it's new. And number two, as I said, the challenge of its velocity is how it spreads so fast. Number three, its resistance to the normal chemicals that we use with stock borer and other pests that we normally deal with. So it's a big challenge that is, if it is not contained, it can reverse all the gains that we have in terms of restarting our agricultural production and especially food security in Zimbabwe.
Southern Africa is reeling from the effects of 2 consecutive years of El Nino-induced drought that affected over 40 million people.
I think an aspect of the fall armyworm which we need to emphasize is the fact that it attacks a lot of other crops. In addition to grasses, it attacks sorghums and millets, it attacks rice, it attacks groundnuts, soybeans, cowpeas, as well as cotton. This actually means that in terms of trying to reduce the pest pressure from one summer crop to another, we know that even in the winter there are other crops on which it can survive. So essentially in developing control strategies, we have to be mindful of the fact that it can survive on so many other crops.
Analysts also say that the armyworm could become resistant to chemicals if farmers do not correctly apply the pesticide. Zambia, Zimbabwe's northern neighbor and major maize producer, has started a campaign aimed at stemming the armyworm, which has affected 124,000 hectares of maize in the country.
China's logistics sector recorded a slight increase in the Logistics Performance Index in February, and that's according to the data released by the China Federation of Logistics and Purchasing. The data shows that the LPI for February came to 53.2%, bouncing up by 0.7 basis points from January. Well, the increase in LPI indicates economic activities has resumed after the Chinese Lunar New Year holiday ended, while logistics activities in food, clothes, agricultural and byproducts saw active performance in February. A reading above 50% indicates expansion from the previous month, while a reading below indicates contraction. Now let's bring things back here in Nigeria, where commuters going down routes plied by the bus rapid transit vehicles have been reacting to increased fares on those routes in Lagos. The hike affects 3 major operators in the state, including BRT buses and LAG buses. The Lagos state government announced an increase of 20 to 50% on 61 routes 2 weeks ago.
It's morning at Ojota, a major nerve center in Lagos. People go about their business, but the hike in BRT fares is met with mixed reactions.
I think the government should look at what this would eventually turn into. If at this time you are looking at less than 20 persons on the queue here.
I think it's fair because the blue ones are comfortable, they're cleaner, well maintained, so I don't mind paying the extra 15 naira.
The trip to mile 12 is a pleasant one. The cooling system is effective and some commuters even take a short nap along the way.
Although the proposed hike in fares was announced about 2 weeks ago, here in mile 12, some people are still reeling from the shock of it.
While some commuters are against paying a higher fare, others defend the increase, and they have their reasons.
Saw what happened to the first BRT. It crashed at the end of the day. But for the maintenance of these buses, there's need for them to increase the price. Look at how much they are selling the tire. It's at the high price. Before they were selling 40,000 and now 80,000 and above.
Reasons the Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority, LAMATA, considered before alerting commuters of the impending increase.
We are all experiencing the current economic downturn, which has affected all facets of our lives. As a consequence, public transport has been severely impacted.
As he announces the increase, the managing director of LAMATA appeals for commuters' understanding.
The average increase approved range from 20 to 50% on different routes. In approving the fare increase, government weighed the justification of the operators for the increase vis-a-vis the effect on the commuters.
People caution that for every action that would require belt tightening, the government should have palliative projects for its citizens.
I heard about the Lagos State government trying to stop downfall drivers, and they are not making any plans for them. Whatever they are trying to break down, let them make avenue for people to live.
But LAMATA insists that the increase of 20 to 50% is fair and much less than the cost of their operations at about 110%. Mary Alale Yusuf, Channels Television News.
Business Incorporated continues in a moment. Please stay with us.